so this is how they test it on the roof, right? Grab the two pieces, yank it apart.
Uh-oh.
That's no good.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good weld.
Is there a good well?
Alright, so. Yeah, that's a good one right there. So's Miller's.
It's okay, Roger. You didn't get a lot of sleep. You didn't get a lot of sleep last night. That's okay.
Alright, so what they're looking for is this film tearing bond. They want the cap to release from the screen, right? And the weld not to break. They want the material to break. And so they're looking for basically 100% of this field. We allow down to 75%. Right? But they want 100% of that field to be torn apart. So when he does those different welds, he's probably going to weld at his lowest temperature and still gets in this 100% film tearing bond. You guys know what I mean?
So why would he run his lowest temperature? That gives him this, like, is there a reason to like run a higher temperature?
Yeah, like he could have welded at 1148 up there, but he backed down to 900.
Is there a reason for that? Like, is it easier on the machine in the long run, or is
It
it?
is a little easier on the machine. And then
I mean, if it's 90 degrees outside, I'm sure you don't want it to be 1100 degrees.
It's crazy hot outside, and you crank that up to 1148, you're probably gonna burn through your sheet.
Yeah, you're gonna melt that machine pretty bad.
Okay.
And then they actually have a little pick, with they'll probe some of their welds too after they run it. Like our sheets over there, they'll take that pick and stick it in there and see if that's, yeah, see if it's pull it apart.
How are these looking?
Yeah, they're running good. Alright, so let's go to the Instron and see who's got the best one.
So we need another sample for that?
Yeah, there's one more.
No, you can reuse this one.
Or, yeah, you can use that one again if you want, but.
Oh, God.
Hey, Tim, can I delete these?
Sure. Yeah. Oh, the other Tim.
Oh, sorry. Alright, so the reason we call this an Instron is because that's the manufacturer, right? Like a lot of people call any kind of soda pop, Coke, right? Kleenex. It's actually a universal tester. You might, I don't know if you spend any time with that. Alright. So these things can either be set up to push or pull, alright? There's two big worm gears in this column here, spin. And it's gonna do exactly what we did, only does it at a steady state, steady pressure. So everything's even. Like I said, it can either be set up to push or pull. We're gonna pull here, ISO pushes, right? This top is a load cell. It's like on a scale, right? You see that force number change when I pull on it. So that's how we get that feedback on force. Now minimum spec on this is 25, right? But it has to be 25 and 75% or more film tearing bond. It has to pass both of those in order to be in. So who's first? What was Iowa? You were 73. And they were nice enough to set both machines up for us.
Yeah.
Alright, so what you guys are going to see on this graph is it's going to go straight up, right? Until it makes that first break. When it makes that first break, it's going to drop. Yeah, the noise here. But when it makes that first drop, then it's going to start bouncing up and down as it pulls each of those yarns, right? It delaminates. So the two things we look for here, like I said, is film tearing bond and the 25. We also measure the average of the 5 highest peaks from these little bitty humps over here, right? And all that gets calculated, and we use that for feedback as far as how the product's actually used. So we've been testing it this way for years. We got plenty of historical data on it. So like when you guys ran your Firestone scrim, did you guys do that?
Well, we did. I don't think we ran it, but.
So to test that Firestone, this is one of the tests we'll put it through, right? And see how it's doing.
Actually, we did, you just weren't here.
Oh, oh, sorry.
You guys
Oh, we're
ready?
getting up there.
So he's,
Ooh, damn.
oh, look at that.
There,
Oh,
went down.
that's gotta be
There,
close.
went down, everything, that's gotta go down sometime.
You got the 70 something.
Yeah, 72.
Dang. So this broke under 60, but still, he's well over double spec. 25 a minute.
How come now I got a beer along? I broke the machine. I was struggling well to broke the machine.
You didn't get your five soda.
Oh,
I know this.
and that one was so tough it broke the machine.
Oh, no, this little machine over here. 72.7, so we know that's your number. Right. That's the other thing, these things are set to travel only so far before they give up the go. I cut these samples a little bit long on the side so we can grab hold of the pole. Most of the time it's a little bit smaller than that. Oh, what's this? Gilly.
That's hammer.
Oh, the hammer. Oh. He's up above 70. Nice.
What was Nate's numbers?
Who's Nate?
Oh, that.
Yeah. Took a picture.
73.5.
Must have well Nate though.
Hey. It's off that same pile, so I don't know.
You gotta use an extreme.
72.8. And that was close.
Wow, good one.
What was that?
Good one, hammer.
All right.
Come on, 24.
Sure, drop.
Oh, yeah.
That's right at 60.
It's not compared to the other one.
So I know we're measuring, we're well trapped out there, so there could be a little more variation than normal on that sheet. But like I said, you guys have seen your profile, and you know it's not exactly flat.
Triggers?
It's in there right now. It's right on.
Oh, that one that's barely hit 50.
Yeah.
Oh, you're still double, so you're good.
That's right.
What do you get? Oh, green drops and puts above 60. Your sweater kind of reminded me of the one in, what was the dude?
The big Lebowski.
Yeah, the Big Lebowski. I like it.
That's you to buy. Cardigan, but thanks for noticing. All over.
Yeah, go on.
Oh, I see the coach, ain't it?
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Go on.
So,
Get up there. Get your phone ready. Yeah, send a picture of it.
Everybody, is that everybody?
Oh.
there's the winner right
Yeah.
there, buddy. So say we all had the same sheet that we welded, and there was, what would cause variation in the welds then? Like,
Profile.
that's what I mean, it's all the same sheet. Like,
As you go down that sheet, that profile will change.
so if it was all the same profile, like identical,
You'd be pretty close, but
Be pretty
you
close.
also gotta know that when you're dropping in the throat, you might not always be getting a homogeneous mix, right? All the additives, all the polymer. So it could be that small section right there that we're testing. Might not have something that the other section does.
Nate's had stones from out the parking lot in it, that's why it's so strong.
57 seconds.
Oh.
That's right. We got the blue line. Creeping right along.
Oh.
Oh. A little below 70.
Jump.
Now, when we do this test, we actually test all 5 of them.
Oh, okay.
And even in those 5, I'll show you a test report when we get back up there. Even in those 5, they vary a little bit. And we're testing good sheet.
Yeah.
Even from like a 1 inch section to this 1 inch section, it just changed.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Thank you.
I mean, it might have also something to do with how the polish cross-link it. All
You know,
that
and I don't know now.
scientific stuff.
How the hell know?
All these guys don't want to pretend to know what I'm talking about.
I know.
So we're talking testing and specs, like probably the one, I don't want to say struggle, we're not the quality people, but fleece. Like, can you explain that whole process a little bit? Because we've had times we've scrapped good fleece because of certain adhesion, like misunderstandings. Like, we're looking for the overall adhesion across the entire sheet, like the average.
Right.
And we have a section where it's under 23, yeah. And we'd have spots that would be like 2 or something, and then the next one it has to be 6 or whatever. Overall average, be over, let's just say 4. But,
Yeah.
but I know early on we had to run, or we scrapped like 80 some rolls, and then it was misunderstood.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that was way back.
Well, I mean, you know, Tia is one of the more stringent tech managers.
She is.
Of the 5, well, 4. What about us right now?
Was it scrapped because it was low in one section?
Yeah.
But the
Yeah.
average came out
Average
good?
was over, yeah.
Probably ought to show them some of that granule loss. And that's probably the same concept, even though the average comes out good. If
Good.
you've got a bad section,
Yep.
then that might cause issues in that one section.
Yeah, because the fleece, they market it as like a impact resistant stuff. What it really helps with is glue. So you glue it down, and that section that has the least adhesion right there, it might have a tendency to pull back up off the road.
Which makes sense, right? I was, something we run into it sometimes, like,
We had an issue in Savannah, made that stuff.
Granule stuff?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So the average of the, what they call rub loss across that sheet, the average was great. But then you had lanes where the granules weren't adhered to the sheet very well. Once it got up on the roof, it weathered for a little bit, you could see those lanes.
oh, yeah.
Because it all washed away. I mean, you look at a bird's eye picture of that roof, it looks like garbage.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and the worst part about that was it was on one of the some newspaper building.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Made the news.
I'm sure it did.
That was well over $1 million claim.
Wow.
Yeah, it really was. And it came down to profile on it too.
Yeah.
So you gotta have so much asphalt on top to hold those rocks. And they had a low spot in that lane that were all the rocks.
So, if you have a spot in your fleece where you're around 2, where it doesn't meet spec here, but your overall is fine. If that's in the middle of the sheet, how would that actually affect it on the roof? Like, because if you just screw it down, then the TPO itself is floating anyhow, right?
Most of the time, fleece is glued there.
It's
Yeah, so they use that fleece as the extra adhesion to hold that down. So in that area, you got the tendency it may pull back up off the roof, not hold. And then if any wind gets up underneath there and it starts flapping, it's just gonna keep going, and it'll eventually spread out, right? Cause weak spots in the whole roof. Which is this called premature failure. All right, so a couple other tests we do. So this is called ply adhesion testing that we did, right? We tested the weld, pulling it apart this way, all right? We also do seam strength, and that pulls the weld apart this way, right? So it's much stronger that way, obviously. But again, there's a spec around that. It's pretty much the same sample, it's just cut down a little bit smaller. We're testing the same weld area, it's just a little bit smaller sample. Because you don't need as much, to get in between the two grips as you do banana peeling out like that. They also do grabs or tinsel. You guys heard tinsel before. Just a little rectangle they put in there to pull it to a box. We measure the full strength, and we also measure how far it stretches, elongation. Tears. We also do tears. Here's an example of a torn sheet. So it's a big rectangle like this. The die puts a little slit here. One sample goes in the top, one goes in the bottom, and then tears it like a piece of paper. All right? We do that machine direction and cross direction. Cross direction, we never have any issue passing. Machine direction, sometimes it gets a little funky, depending on the strength. The thicker the sheet is, the lower your tear numbers are in machine direction. So 45 mil will outperform or outtest an 80 mil.
Okay.
It's because the theory is the thinner product like this will kind of twist and rope on itself, causing more, whereas the 80 mil will hold its original thing, you're just tearing it like a piece of paper. So it has a lot to do with how well you guys got it laminated and then what the strength of those yarns are. That it? That's pretty much it. Flies, seams.
Yeah, that's everything on the instrument.
So have you guys ever seen them do the microscope?
Nail. Nail test. Nail test.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, it's metric, but still.
yeah. We do a nail pull through test as well. We put a nail through it, and we got a jig, and we pull it to see how much pressure it's going to pop through. So yeah, have you guys seen the microscope? You seen them do that before? All right, so they were nice enough to print out an image because she didn't want me touching her microscope. So this dark area right here, that's your scrim, all right? So when they talk about cap over scrim, they're measuring that area right there. You're measuring your core, and then they do an overall measurement as well, just like you guys do with the gauge, only it's a little more precise with the microscope. Color, you guys come in and check color, right?
Yep.
Does everybody know how the little box works? Anybody have paint ever, checked at Lowe's, Home Depot, something like that? So you put your sample in, it's got that little opening right there. There's a light in the back of there, and it shoots out and bounces against that sample. And there's filters in there that measure that wavelength. Each color has a different wavelength to it, right? And so that's how you get your LAB readings, right? The only thing you guys can control out on that line is your L, meaning how light or dark it is. So you need to put more color concentrate in or less, right? And so here's the illustration of the A and B. So your B is your blue-yellow balance, and your A is your green-red balance. So you guys talking delta E, right? You guys heard that term? So all that is we got a standard loaded in there that has an LAB reading. We measure our sample, and it does a subtraction. So there's the delta part of it, and then there's the LAB, delta E. So that's the difference. You guys are allowed 1.5 delta E, 1.5.
Yeah.
So they claim the human eye, the normal guy's not a color matcher or something, can see it down to about 0.5, some a little bit less, like the 1.0. Anything below that, they can't really see it. The previous life, I was a color matcher, and I could see it pretty tight. I'm a lot older now, and I haven't done it in years, so I don't see those hues quite like I used to, but I used to be able to see it pretty good. And then next, they do the melt flow index, right? Have you guys ever seen them check the rail cars, or anybody in the material room have to bring a sample up for them to check or anything? They go get their own?
Yeah, they get their own.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So you guys know, we're talking GAF1, right? You got two main polymers that go in there, KF311, C810. Well, they are drastically different melt flow ranges. If you were to get them mixed up, go the other way, you would not be able to push that out the die. So the KS311 is like a mid-teens melt, so it's like an 8 to 11 melt, whereas the CA10A, 0.45 to 0.8. So it's much tougher, much less viscous, and you would have a hell of a time getting it out the die. So this thing is all automatic. The ones that I used 20 years ago were not automatic. So what happens though is this thing heats up, and there's a little orifice in there with a hole in it. And they fill this up with the pellets, and then they hit the go button, and this weight will, they got a plunger that sticks up. This weight will come over and sit on top of that plunger. And it sits in there for so long to melt the plastic, and then it lets the weight free, and it starts pushing that down. It'll extrude the plastic out the bottom. And then once it goes for so long, this arm will come down and cut it, and then whatever that extrusion weighs, that's your melt flow. Now, back when I did this, it was all manual, right? So you loaded them, you stick your plunger in, you put your weight on, and I had a bolt that used to stick right there to hold that weight up off of there. You start your stopwatch. And then after so long, you stopped your watch, you pulled the bolt, started it again, and ran it for like 5 minutes, and then made a cut, and then had to weigh it, and that's how you got your melt back in the day. Then to get the orifice out on this machine, you just pull this little handle and it drops out, right? On the older machines, you take that same plunger and you shove that orifice back up from the bottom. And then to clean the center of that orifice, you take this little drill bit. Usually I have a go, no-go gauge on these, so one side goes in, it's good. If the other side goes in, it's no good. If the orifice is too big, you gotta replace it. They give you false readings. I don't know how many times I burned the hell out of myself with that little thing because I would not remember it's hot for some reason. And I grab a hold of it and it's hot. So I did not keep my hand away from the nozzle. So the next two are the ovens. This one's set up for our domestic product. That's for our BN product. And so what we use that for is called dimensional stability. So they will cut a 12-inch by 12-inch square. We'll put it in there for so long at 212. We pull it out and we sit it usually in between two jigs. They have a little different apparatus here, but it just holds the sample flat, and then we measure with a micrometer. It cannot grow more than 0.5% or shrink.
It's a 0.5% change.
Yeah, it cannot change more than 0.5% from its original size, right? So we know we started with 12 by 12, and then we measure that. So if it were to grow or shrink more than that, then that's going to tell us what's going to happen on the roof when it goes through a heat-thaw cycle. And if it does that too much, it can start pulling at the seams or pulling away from the wall, causing issues. European, they drop it down to what, 175 probably, not 176. But same premise. And then they've got their cold, the freezer over there. It goes down to -40. Sample sit in there for 6 hours.
Flex,
Yeah. Is that just 4?
yeah, 4 hours for, well, 4 hours for low temp flex and 1 hour for the fold.
That's right. And so they've got an apparatus in there. They put a sample in. It looks basically like this, just a small little strip. And you pull the pin and this thing will fold over on itself, right? So it'll try to fold this sample in half. And we're looking for any kind, then they take it over here to this little fancy machine. It's got 7x magnification. They look for any cracking along there. Any cracking is a fail. So we test our product for hot and for cold, pretty extreme, right? You're at 212 and you're at -40. So, I don't know any place on earth that gets to 212. That's what we tested. Pretty much it for the lab, right? So then on top of that, what we do, or I say we, what Tim and the guys do, is we do a little bit long-term heat, or longer-term testing. So we do the same things, only we don't have a color machine. We don't detect color. But we have ovens that we put our samples in for 56 days at 275 degrees is the minimum for passing, right? So you weigh your sample before it goes in, stick it in there for 56 days, pull it out, weigh it again. It cannot lose more than 1% of its original weight. And then you got to bend it over a mandrel, and it cannot crack. It has to pass both of those things to be a pass. And then on top of that, we have other samples in to go 70 days for GAF1, GAF4. For the extreme product, we go to 90 days. Same parameters, though. And
So
I lose
that
more
material
weight.
can't leave the plant until that's passed after 56 days?
No, we sell on time of manufacturing testing, meaning testing in
Oh.
here. We are just there to see how things are going, kind of a
Yeah.
sanity check type situation. But no, we don't recall anything that
Failed
didn't-
from yours.
right. Now, if it was a catastrophic failure or something crazy happened, we'll hurry up and get another sample from the plant and ensure that those original results were there. But then you're at 112 days, if we had the second sample
Right.
there. So, no, it's going to be on the road. But we do have a record of it that way. Then on top of that, we do what's called hydrostatic burst testing. Where we take a sample and we put it in between the hydraulic press and we shoot water to it. And we see how much PSI it takes to pop that sample. The one I pulled up the other day, I think it was a 60 mil. It was like 525 PSI when it poked a hole in the sample. Well above spec. We have another machine that's called an ozone chamber. So we put our samples in there, we expose them to ozone, whatever ozone is, right? I always heard that as a kid, there's a hole in the ozone layer, that kind of thing. But anyway, we expose it to that, and then we pull it out and we bend it over a mandrel and it cannot crack off that mandrel. And then on top of that, we do some longer term weathering. So we have 2 weatherometers. They run for 4,000 hours each sample. And it exposes it to UV radiation and water. Only the cap side, right? The back side doesn't do that. And we've had those things running for about 11 years, and I have never seen a failure. There has been no failure. When I took over the lab a little over 6 years ago, we had samples in there over 10,000 hours, and they still hadn't failed. But we were running out of space, so I had to pull it out. That was an R&D thing to see how long it goes before it fails. They have their own weatherometer, so they can do that.
How big of a machine is that?
It's probably about as big as that. About as
It's a
wide.
little bigger than a refrigerator.
No.
Yeah, there you go.
So you have all the samples in there? Or,
So they're on a carriage.
Globe. It's kind of a globe shaped thing that sits in there, might be a big round, and then you kind of stack them. And they come in these little racks. You mount your samples in these racks,
Oh,
and it just
okay.
sits in there and spins. And there's an iridescent tube in the center, and it'll come on and it emulates the sunlight, and it'll spray with water, the light will come on, it just sits there and goes through these cycles. It represents pretty intense weather for on and off for that 4,000 hours. How many years is it supposed to?
So yeah, that's the thing. You ask these people, and they never give you a straight answer,
Yeah.
right? Depends on what part of the country, blah blah blah. So it's about 15 plus years of exposure is what we're getting out of 4,000 hours. Now they do have what they call weathering farms out in Phoenix that they literally put the stuff outside and just let it weather in the sun for months and months and months. You can only imagine how long 4,000 hours takes to run in a machine.
yeah.
And when we started doing the quality metrics testing, that's one of the things we ran out of space in real quick.
Yeah.
So we did make the policy now, like if you send us a 60 mil in the year of 2024, we're gonna put it in that weatherometer one time, unless we have a failure. But again, we've never had one, so we feel pretty confident that we can do that. What is 4,000 hours? Is that 8 months?
It's 6 to 8.
Somewhere in that neighborhood. And then if we have any power outages or we have water issues, Mount Vernon is notorious for water issues. So the pressure drops out. It has to go through a DI thing and it puts real clean water on it. And if that DI loses its pressure going into it, it shuts the machine down. And the bulb in the center Tim was talking about is cooled by just regular city water, right? And if that pressure drops, and the bulb gets too hot, it'll blow up inside that machine. And so it'll shut itself down too. We don't always get notified when we have water pressure issues, so we're coming in, the machine will be blinking at us like, hey, something's wrong. And when we find out, over the night they lost water or something.
So you have to start over, or you just turn it back on?
You just turn it back on. Yeah, so running. We've got a limb system that tracks all this stuff, and if it's down for too long, Tim will go in and adjust the days on it, or we just make a calendar adjustment to when we need to pull certain samples out, that kind of thing. Same thing with the ovens. We got a power outage. You know, we'll give them a day, but any longer than a day, then we got to start making adjustments on it. Is that it? Oh yeah, water absorption. I forgot that one. So again, that one is we cut a little disc, we put it in we weigh it, we put it in an apparatus with so much water in it. It sits in an oven. We pull it out and we weigh it again, and it cannot gain more than 1% of its original weight, and water cannot suck up more than that much water. Now we're cutting a circle, so we got to expose scrim all the way around, so we got to get that sample on there just right, and there's a gasket that's just inside that perimeter that holds it on there. When we first started doing it, we weren't real good at it, so we got some crazy numbers in the beginning, but now we don't have any issue with that either. It's always watertight. We used to do cold brittleness, but it's a very subjective test that it's very tough to pass, and we only send that out to third-party manufacturers to run that test. We do that on an annual basis, and that has to pass down to -40. And the samples are, what, about a quarter of this?
I mean, it's about.
Probably about that wide.
About, yeah, they're tiny little samples.
5 of them go in, all 5 have to pass. For it to be a
Basically
pass.
load them up and then try to strike some with the guillotine, and if it cracks,
We put our stuff through some pretty stringent tests, you know. And like I said, I'll show you guys the metrics up there, but very rarely do we have failures. Other than we do struggle sometimes with machine direction tears. Right? And that most likely has to do with either Highland or Milliken not giving us what we really want, or something going funky in the middle of the screen.
So which one's worse?
We
Highland or Milliken?
haven't really tracked that, and that's something that I need to look into.
Because one runs a lot better than the other for us online.
Oh, I'm sure. Which one's got the black yarn?
Yeah, Highland.
Highland. Yeah, Highland probably runs a lot better.
Right.
The Milliken rolls come in and they're all wound up. They probably walk on you.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. The rolls are kind of loose and all that. Yeah. All right, so any other questions about what these guys do in here? So this is what Cam and Derek are doing all day. Well, what Cam's doing all day. Oh man.